This is We All Be, news-free Dixie for the 21st century. See how it works? Somewhere. Can you dig it?
That's my talking about precious aunt. My talk about precious aunt. And we getting out of here. Thank y'all for being patient, for rocking with me. You're far too kind. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Far too kind. This famous picture right here. Now that's Gloria Steinem. And the black woman is Dorothy Pitman Hughes. Famous black feminist. That's a very iconic picture when they were young. And then they reenacted the famous picture when they were older. So Dorothy Pitman Hughes, she died earlier this month. And I see some new black media outlets did recognize her passing. Shout out to Gavin G Boot for doing his thing. I saw that earlier. Appreciate the shout out, brother. I just want to talk about her a little bit. I think it's fascinating. She's a fascinating woman. Read what the AP had to say about her, and I'm read a little bit other sources. Then we'll get in, and then we'll get out of here. Let's see. Pioneering black feminist Dorothy Pitman Hughes dies at 84. Dorothy Pitman Hughes, a pioneering black feminist, child welfare advocate, and lifelong community activist who toured the country speaking with Gloria Steinem in the 1970s and appears with her in one of the most iconic photos of the second wave feminist movement, has died. She was 84. Hughes died December 1st in Temple, Florida, at the home of her daughter and son-in-law, said Maurice Sconiers of the Sconiers Funeral Home in Columbus, Georgia. Her daughter, Delitha Ridley Mauston, said the cause was old age. Though they came to their feminist activism from different vantage points, Hughes from her community-based work and Steinem from journalism from the CIA. You know, Steinem came from the CIA, from what I understand, allegedly. I'm saying allegedly. Yeah, right. The two forged a powerful speaking partnership in the early 1970s, touring the country at a time when feminism was seen as predominantly white and middle class, a divide dating back to the origins of the American women's movement. Steinem credited Hughes with helping her become comfortable speaking in public. Okay. In one of the most famous images of the era, taken in October 1971, the two raised their right arms in the Black Power salute. The photo is now in the National Portrait Gallery. Hughes, her work always rooted in community activism, organized the first shelter for battered women in New York City and co-founded the New York City Agency for Child Development to broaden child care services in the city. But she was perhaps best known for her work helping countless families through the community center she established on Manhattan's West Side, offering daycare, job training, advocacy training, and more. She took families off the street and gave them jobs. Okay. Malmstrom, her daughter, told the Associated Press on Sunday, reflecting on what she felt was her mother's most important work. Steinem, too, paid tribute to Hughes's work, community work. My friend Dorothy Pitman Hughes ran a pioneering neighborhood child care center on the west side of Manhattan. Steinem said in an email, "We met in the 70s when I wrote about the child care center, and we became speaking partners and lifetime friends. She will be missed, but if we keep telling her story, she will keep inspiring us all." Laura L. Lovett, whose biography of Hughes, With Her Fist Raised, came out last year, said in Miss Magazine that Hughes defined herself as a feminist, but rooted her feminism in her experience and in more fundamental needs for safety, food, shelter, and childcare. Born Dorothy Jean Ridley on October 2nd, 1938, in Lumpkin, Georgia, Hughes committed herself to activism at an early age, according to an obituary written by her family. When she was 10, it said her father was nearly beaten to death and left on the family's doorstep. The family believed he was attacked by the Ku Klux Klan, and Hughes decided to dedicate herself to helping others through activism. She moved to New York in the late 1950s when she was nearly 20 and worked as a salesperson, nightclub singer, and house cleaner. By the 1960s, she had become involved in the civil rights movement and other causes, working with Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and others. In the late 1960s, she set up her West 80th Street Child Care Center, providing daycare and also support for parents. She realized that child care challenges were deeply entangled with issues of racial discrimination, poverty, drug use, substandard housing, welfare hotels, job training, and even the Vietnam War, Lovett wrote last year. It was at the center that Hughes met Steinem, then a journalist writing a story for New York Magazine. They became friends, and from 1969 to 1973, spoke across the country at college campuses, community centers, and other venues on gender and race issues. Dorothy's style was to call out the racism she saw in the white women's movement, Lovett said in Mrs. She frequently took to the stage to articulate the way in which white women's privilege oppressed black women, but also offered her friendship with Gloria as proof this obstacle could be overcome. I said Mrs. I think it's Miss Magazine. Whatever, miss me with that. But Miss Magazine, okay. In the early 1970s, Hughes also helped found with Steinem the Women's Action Alliance, a broad network of feminist activists aiming to coordinate resources and push for equality on a national level. Though Hughes was often said to have also co-founded Miss Magazine with Steinem in the same era, and biographer Lovett says she helped inspire the idea. She did not have a formal role with the magazine. It's kind of like when John Lennon said that Dick Gregory inspired his one of his best-selling songs, "Imagine," because Dick gave him a prayer book. I said, guess it's kind of like spiritual inspiration thing. Okay, we'll give her that. Interesting. It was difference. It was our difference in the experience that made us good lecture partners. Steinem noted. She also recalled collaborating with Hughes on protests in so-called welfare hotels in New York for poor families in the 70s. Dorothy was key to exposing living conditions there, Steinem said. She truly was a great community activist. By the 80s, Hughes had moved to Harlem and opened an office supply business, Harlem Office Supply, the rare stationery store at the time that was run by a black woman. But she was forced to sell the store when a Staples opened nearby, part of President Bill Clinton's Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone program. Interesting. She will remember some of her experiences in the 2000 book, Wake Up and Smell the Dollars. Whose inner city is this anyway? One woman's struggle against sexism, classism, racism, gentrification, and the empowerment zone. Hughes was portrayed in The Glorious, the 2020 film about Steinem by actor Janelle Monáe. She is survived by three daughters, Mouston, Patrice Quinn, and Angela Hughes. Okay, that's the AP story, right? It's interesting about her struggles, right? She had a very traumatic experience. A father getting beaten nearly to death by the Klan, allegedly, probably so. Um, they labor her a feminist, but she had issues with the feminist movement, how the white women treated the black women in the movement. Sounds no different than what Sojourner Truth and Ida B. Wells Barnett encountered by dealing with these so-called women's movement. Um, She's like she was sincere about her community activism, really focused. But the thing about it is, the black family was destroyed. The institute of the black family over these last this system has been dedicated to destroying the black family nucleus over the last 60 plus years. And she was part of a movement. And I think unwillingly, she didn't know everything that was going on with said movement because Gloria Steinem, from my understanding, she had connections to the CIA and she was a journalist. So that makes sense because the CIA, Operation Mockingbird was a project to control the media. The intelligence community controls the messaging of the media. And Gloria Steinem is a journalist who, from my understanding, had ties to CIA. It kind of reminds me of Elaine Brown, the Black Panther, whose handler and boyfriend was J. Richard Kennedy, MK Ultra mind control specialist who had connections to the government, who was business partners with Dr. King's handler, Stanley Levison, a Jewish lawyer who had connections to the Communist Party. It's like it's interesting. Maybe that Steinem was used to handle Dorothy Pitman Hughes. It's interesting because like Dorothy, she was sincere about community building, but one woman's like she was what you characterize the independent, strong black woman type. Is that what it is? I'm independent. I'm a strong, independent black woman, and yet she had a business taken away from her because of justification by the white man system by Bill Clinton, Mister Three Strikes You're Out, Bill Clinton. I smoke, but I didn't inhale. I smoke, but I didn't inhale because I'm not in hell. Because I'm not in hell. I smoke, but I didn't inhale. Clinton. So she got her empowerment zone, Negro wake up call. But it's like, she got three daughters. I guess she was divorced, but she's trying to help battle women. I think she was more like a womanist than a feminist, if that make any sense. That she actually, I think she probably had a love for black men, but the feminist movement was about uh emasculating black men. Because, you talking about patriarchy, we never had the chance to really be in control of our families like that and control our communities as patriarchs. So your beef is with the white man, but with white feminists, they're not trying to destroy their men. They're trying to get favors from their men. They're trying to be respected. They're trying to get a seat at the table with their men. They're trying to get allowances from their men. Because I'll tell you something that people don't understand. The most powerful white women didn't care about voting. They didn't care about all this women's rights stuff because they had the power behind the throne. They had that man's ear doing pillow talk. There was the power behind the throne. They had the resources. They raised them white men to be what they were. Like you look at the first female senator was from where? From Georgia. Rebecca Latimer Felton, first U.S. senator, but she was a white supremacist. She encouraged white men to lynch black people by any means necessary. So you look at how Ida B. Wells and them were treated like second-class citizens, even when it came to marching. Ida B. Wells had more credentials than a lot of them so-called white women. When it came to organizing and mobilizing the people, she had the track record. She could be arguably said to be the mother of investigative journalism in America. Not no Nellie Bly, but Ida B. Wells Barnett, a former enslaved black person. Brilliant woman, but she was treated like a second, third class citizen in the so-called women rights movement, the suffrage movement. So you got Gloria Steinem co-opting this sister swag. She got the fist in the hair and all this. Who had the better career? Who had the more uh illustrious? And not to take away from Sister Dorothy, because I think she did a thing in a way, but I wish she would have learned from the struggles of Fannie Lou Hamer versus trying to get with the good white folk, the good white women like Gloria Steinem, who to me were like opportunists. Gloria Steinem, the one, it's like what they call them limousine liberals, right? You know, um, like Dorothy Pitman was robbed at the end, especially with the so-called empowerment zone when she had her black-owned office supply store in Harlem, in Black Harlem. And they took that away from her. It's all Bill Clinton's the first black president in his empowerment zone. Yeah, yeah, bring on Staples, baby, bring on Staples. Staple my paper. Staple, 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 staple. So she got screwed over. And Malcolm, they said she worked with Malcolm X. Malcolm warned about them liberals back in the day. She wasn't listening to Brother Malcolm. He warned you about the foxy white liberal. He warned you about these white liberals and their Negro movement, revolutions and stuff like that. But and also been people say, well, what's the connection with Precious? She's actually is connected to what's the thing? Gabourey Sidibe. That's her niece. Gabourey Sidibe, the lady who played Precious, that's her niece. That's her niece. The one to play Precious. That is her niece. And that's an interesting family because Gabourey Sidibe, her mom is a well-known singer as well. Her mom was a well-known singer named Alice Tan Ridley. That's her mom. A very talented family then. It's her mom. It's Precious' mom. I'm just trying. I'm gonna wrap it up, folks. I'm just trying to do my due diligence. So very talented family. So you got Oscar-nominated actress. You got this revolutionary feminist icon. Then you got this woman who's a very good professional singer. Who's Precious' mom, Gabby? Was it Gabourey Sidibe, whatever? Let me show this picture. It's Alice Tan Ridley. That's Precious' mom. I'm sorry, called it's called because that's what y'all know her as. Maybe that's disrespectful. I don't know. Alice Tan Ridley, born December 21st, Sagittarius, 1952. Is that Sagittarius 21st still? Almost Capricorn cusp. Yeah. Is an American gospel and R&B singer and the mother of actress Gabourey Sidibe. Really advanced to the semifinals of the NBC television series America's Got Talent after previously winning $25,000 in the pilot episode of 30 Seconds to Fame. Really released her debut album, Never Lost My Way, at the age of 63 in September 2016. Okay. Really was born, and Wikipedia is cool. Y'all might want to consider giving the Wikipedia. Really was born in Georgia. She is the mother of Ahmed and Gabourey Sidibe. For about 30 years, Ridley has been singing and busking in New York City subway stations, mainly at Herald Square in Midtown Manhattan. She's a professional street musician. Okay. For the past 6 years, Ridley tours with a 7-piece band, doing shows at performing arts centers across America. Her daughter is Gabourey Sidibe, who starred in the 2009 hit film Precious and garnered critical acclaim. On October the 6th, 2012, Ridley performed for the first time in her life with a 65-piece symphony orchestra at Ohio Northern University in Ada, Ohio. So that's Precious' mom right there. That's Precious' mom, Alice Tan Ridley. I guess she is the sister then of Dorothy Pitman Hughes. If Gabourey Sidibe is her niece. And this is Precious. This is what I'm talking about. The lady prayed Precious. So her aunt is a feminist icon who just passed. Who's I guess, is she a righteous ancestor? I'm more of a Fannie Lou Hamer fan when it comes to women empowerment. But this is her niece. This is Dorothy Pitman Hughes' niece. Gabourey Sidibe. Okay. What a world we live in. She is the niece of Dorothy Pitman Hughes. Like I said, it's interesting who you related to because it start making sense when you know who you are. Okay. So in March 2017, Bay revealed that she had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. That as a consequence, she underwent laparoscopic bariatric surgery in an effort to manage her weight. November 2020, Bay announced her engagement to Brandon Franco, a talent manager with Cameo. The couple married in March 2021. Good for her. That's cool though, man. There's somebody out there for everybody. Never give up. But that's Aunt is a famous game changing woman. Okay, so with Dorothy Pitman Hughes, she found the hard way that she got no friends. I mean, I look at, like I said, Gloria Steinem had a more illustrious and glamorous life than consider Dorothy Pitman Hughes. And you need the black man. The black man is needed to be a part of the black family. You need the black man, woman, and child. It's like some of her struggles at the end, especially with the empowerment zone, came from the fact that you know brothers need to help the sisters back. You look at even our greatest black women trailblazers and pioneers in business and entrepreneurship. They had certain black men vouch for them, to support them, to be their sponsors. You look at somebody like the great Bessie Coleman, one of my personal heroes or she rules. She was the first black woman to get her pilot's license to fly, but she had to go to France to get it because the United States wasn't training black people. They didn't want us to know how to fly. They trained the dude they play in Pearl Harbor, Admiral Yamamoto. They trained him how to fly and destroy Pearl Harbor, but they wouldn't train black folks. They barely wanted to train the brothers at Tuskegee on how to fly. But you had black businessmen like the real estate mogul Jesse Binga up in Chicago. We don't say the name of Jesse Binga. It's a real estate genius in Chicago, as well as the great brother Robert Abbott, who was the founder of the Chicago Defender. They were her financiers or sponsors to help her go to France to get her pilot's license. That's Bessie Coleman. If you look at any of our great women entrepreneurs, a lot of them had support from black men. If you look at even Black Wall Street, some of the successful sisters that had that movie theater down there, and some other places, it's because black men created a space for you to excel and to be safe and to do your thing. So for them to disrupt this natural alliance through the feminist movement was a poison. And Fannie Lou Hamer saw the writing on the wall. She already knew that feminism was bad for the black family and for the black struggle. But it seemed like when she didn't have the backing of the brothers, that's when she had some of her troubles. With if she had, if black men was able to stand with her in Harlem, maybe her supply store would have had a better chance of surviving. I don't know. I mean, I just think about all the times when black men stood up for black women, things change. Like you look at even like I talk about the Montgomery bus boycott, you had black women being raped by white police officers and bus drivers and stuff. You remember Reese Taylor got gang raped coming home from church back in September of 44 in Alabama. You hear these stories, but when black men start walking women home, start escorting, start doing armed patrols, drive, things change. When black women were being disrespected wartime at the Detroit factories, it was black men that said we don't respect our sisters, and they were forcing black women to eat in the damn restrooms instead of in the lunchroom. That's how they were treating black women that were working at these. Y'all got this interesting mythological image of Rosie the Riveter, the white woman on the poster with her arms doing the flexing, but it was some black women, some Rositas or some Rosettas or whatever. There was some sisters doing that thing too, but they were being disrespected. But when the brother said, if you don't respect our women, we won't work here either, that's when they start getting their respect. So we are really natural allies. So it shouldn't be like that. Because even back in the day, when the black men fought and died in the Civil War, and black men were given the right to vote, even though you had some black women that said, we got to have our brothers, we got to have the black men. We want our men to have the right to vote. You had women, they were for women, but they knew that they wanted their men to have the right to vote. And some of the most progressive time for black people in America was that 10-year period called Reconstruction. We had black men in Congress being senators from Mississippi and stuff like that, doing their thing. So this country will never be right until they do right by black boys. And you can't keep on blaming black men for the woes of the black community if we're not allowed to have access to resources and to do things to uplift said community. If you're not properly training these young boys to be men, then how can you blame them when things are already falling apart to begin with? You're not investing in people. So, like, you look at somebody like, you talk about HBCUs. It'd be nice if people like Robert Smith could adapt some of these HBCUs, like what Robert Smith did for them young men in Morehouse by paying off their student loan debt. Then he found out that y'all should check out this podcast called Earn Your Leisure. I'm gonna look at it after I get off sometime tomorrow, whatever today. They interview Robert Smith. He's the wealthiest black person in America, from my understanding. He's worth billions of dollars, but he's not an entertainer. He's not an actor, or athlete. He's actually a businessman. He made his money by investments and stuff like that. He knew how to play the game. But he was the guy that did the keynote a couple years back in Morehouse to talk about, he gave them guys a lease on life because he said, I'm going to pay off y'all debt. Y'all don't understand what's killing folks from starting families and stuff like that is student loan debt. Because most of the people going to die with their debt unless they do something about it. Because it's just crazy. Because back in the day, if you go back to the 60s, you look at Judge Joe Brown, they didn't have a lot of student loan debt. They had barely any student loan debt. Though our judge come up back in the day, we do this, we were on the streets, we the Panthers, you ain't had nothing of debt. You didn't have to worry about trying to get a job, trying to start your career. You could actually do things to try to empowerment your community. Like I'm not gonna ever stop saying this with Jeffrey Haas, a Jewish brother from Atlanta, Jewish guy. He went to, I want to say, called University of Chicago Law School, but he ended up befriending Fred Hampton. He represented Fred Hampton's family in the civil suit against the U.S. government or his company there, or his office, the People's Law Office. He was inspired to start a People's Law Office because of his friendship with Fred Hampton, because Fred Hampton wanted to be a lawyer, from my understanding, before they killed him. The government killed him in his sleep at the age of 21, next to his pregnant fiance. So that's your government, the one that bring over the Nazis, the one that train folks that end up doing Pearl Harbor, the people that train folks that end up doing terrorist plots and fighting civil wars. Your government did that. Okay. I know somebody said in one of my community posts, love it or leave it. What they gotta do? I'm telling you facts. What they gotta do with anything, Jack? Well, I'm gonna leave something when I got blood equity in this thing. My people fought in every war. I can name relatives who fought in the Revolutionary War. That's how far I go back. That's how far my people go back in this country. Your people might just came over here less than 100 years ago. I can name relatives that fought in the Revolutionary War. That's how far my bloodline go back in this thing. Well, I'm gonna give up something that my people fought and died for. They got lynching uniforms for, got disrespected, spit on for, had to leave the South and leave abandoned lands that they own, just to stay alive, just to breathe some air. So we talk a lot of craziness, and what I'm trying to tell people, stop looking this stuff up and understanding, because that black woman got a raw deal. To me, Dorothy Pitman probably died bitter and disillusioned by her treatment by this system, because she left her man behind, left the black man behind. You need the brothers to be on the same page. You can't do, black folks still haven't learned, you need a militia. Everybody that gets stuff done got goons. They got a mob, the Irish mob, the Jew mob, the Italian mob, everybody, the Greek mob, everybody got their goons. Black folks, our goons are used against us. We got to control our goons. That's all I'm saying. I ain't trying to advocate anything. I'm just saying everybody know that every area of human activity with these people is warfare. Everybody know, but black people people think they're gonna pray something away. You don't pray nothing away. You make it go away. You don't pray it away. They ain't gonna work. Prayers without works is dead. You practicing a dead religion. So I guess that's it. I ran and raved enough. But God bless Dorothy Pitman Hughes and that's precious aunt Gadabe Setabe. This is Gabaray Setabe. More power to her. God bless her and her mama. Alison Tan Ridley. It's like a very talented family. Um, but yeah, I just want to make sure I did something to acknowledge her passing. May not agree with all this stuff, but it's like she was a decent person. Like she did care about community, but it's kind of like, what group of women are okay without their men? Like what group of women brag about being independent? Ain't no woman in her right mind want to be by herself raising some kids or by themselves trying to pay some bills. You need some help. It's like I saw a news story from Memphis. We got a problem with carjacking like everywhere else, but it'll be a lot of young people, a lot of young kids. They be having guns, trying to scare people, carjack people. And it was this white doctor, retired doctor, about 72. He shot and killed his would-be carjacker of his Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon at the gas station, at Kroger fuel station out East Memphis. And he shot one of the kids in the foot. He shot and killed the other kid that was 16. The other kid he shot in the foot was 18, drove himself to the hospital. And they interviewed the kid mom, who was a carjacker who got shot in the foot and lived. And basically she was on the news saying, I can't do nothing with him. I can't do nothing with these kids. I need help. They think we okay with this. We're not okay. I'm not okay as a parent for my son to be acting like that. I don't want him to be that. I didn't raise him I didn't raise him at all. But you could tell she was distraught. You could tell she was overwhelmed. That you could tell most definitely she was a single mom for lack of support, lack of a man in her life and in her children's life. And I got stories I'll be reading about crime families in Memphis, people called the Porterfield posse. I'm gonna have to post a link of the article that was written about them. The Porterfields. They're a famous Memphis crime family. They're a black family. They actually mixed. The matriarch of the family died about 2 years ago. Elfried I said Porterfield. He called Porterfield, right? She was actually from Germany. She was a white woman from Germany. She married this black man from here, Porterfield. They had about 9 children. And her boys, boy, they out wilding out in the streets, man. They notorious, the Porterfield posse. Notorious. They had one relative, a cousin that was on death row for a hired killer. He was hired by this white woman to kill her husband. He beat this man up so bad with a tire iron out in Bartlett, Tennessee. He hit this man with a tire iron 21 times. He died on death row. He was the oldest death row prisoner in the state of Tennessee. He died, I would say like 7, 6, 8 years ago. But they did a story about them in the commercial appeal back in I think 2009 or 2010. But as a family is full of dysfunction. This dude had 9 children. His sons became hellraisers. One became paralyzed. One got shot in the car. This is a bunch of hellraisers, man. And they got kids. That's crazy. They having kids. They got kids having kids. But anyway, I'm getting carried away. But nah, the feminism thing ain't gonna help black people. Never been a friend. And Fannie Lou Hamer recognized that early on. This is a woman who didn't know she could vote until she was 40-some years old. So I the hiding the contradictions, you need to study people like Dorothy Pitman Hughes, as well as study the legacy of Fannie Lou Hamer and compare and contrast. Because these people, they love thinking of abortion, saying as the final solution. Fannie Lou Hamer was sterilized. She was the last she was number 20. She's the 20th child of her parents. And she wanted her own biological children. And the state of Mississippi robbed her because she was poor and black. They destroyed her womb without her consent. You had several states back in the day. We have 21 known states, from what I read, that was sterilizing black women and poor people. You even had it recently in California where they were sterilizing women in prison, probably without their consent, because you don't know what they're doing to our food and to our medicine, especially when it comes to fibroids in the black community with black women. What is that about? It's like every time black women get fibroids, they want to remove the black woman's womb. They know what it is, man. This stuff is sad. You go back to J. Marion Sims, the father of gynecology. You see how this stuff plays out. So Frankensteins, like Frankenfruits, Frankenstein, whatever. But thank you all. All right, thank you, Aldo. No, you hope to, but we've been poisoned. Like, if you go by social media, you think black men and women and can't get along. And even like when you're on these dating apps, like it's hard, man. It's like people are not who they say they are online. You could be anything on the internet, and you don't know who to trust. You don't know who you talking to. I'm an easy target. I'm very naive sometimes when it comes to dealing with people because you know people know who I am. Like I'm on here live. I don't hide my face. I don't have no disembodied voice. Whatever. What you see is what you get. You know what I'm saying? I look like my pictures as far as I'm concerned. Depending on the year and the month, I look like my pictures. And so this is who I am. I'm not hiding anything. I'm transparent. But sometimes a lot of people are not so transparent. You don't know who you're dealing with. And it's dangerous out here because they recently had a dude get set up from a dating app. They killed them, I think. But it probably happened more times than not. People disappearing. A lot of people disappearing. Especially a lot of black women are disappearing in Memphis. A lot of missing black women. I mean, young girls as well as older women. So God bless us all, man. It's crazy times we're living.
Hey, everybody, this is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that Django review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014. And so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.